Hey, it's one of our favorite times of year. I'm so happy to have all of our Inspire hosts together to wrap up season 2. We're going to have some great fun, and you're part of it. Stay with us. Inspire is sponsored by Kansas Furniture Mart, using furniture to inspire conversation, and by the Blanche Bryden Foundation. Welcome to Inspire. This is a very special one because we all 5 get to be together. I'm so thrilled. These are wonderfully talented women, and we have a lot to get to for season 2. So we want to start with kind of what was the most impactful thing we thought of season 2, something that really opened our eyes. And of course, we have to start with Danielle.
Well, thank you. I would say it would have to be cannabis, because I had a whole 180-degree shift on what I thought about it. The little Pentecostal girl had a change in thought. And so now I know all of the therapeutic reasons why people should have it. It's non-addictive like opioids, and we need to get it here in Kansas. I'm very disappointed that the legislature didn't get it done this year, and I'm ready for it to be a thing, because so many lives could be changed and saved as a result of it.
Well, and I know we spent 3 sessions on that as
Three
well.
whole shows, because I was like, how are we going to talk about cannabis? 3 shows, now I'm like, maybe we should have done more, because maybe it could have like pushed somebody in the legislature to say, hey, this is really important, and we should make sure that people have it so they don't have to go elsewhere to get it.
Maybe next year we should have a legislature person as a guest.
I would love
Maybe
that.
we should.
That's a good idea.
I think we should do that.
Saying.
That's a good idea.
She has some things she'd like to say.
I have some questions.
Amber, what about you? What was most eye-opening?
So this was hard for me to pick just one, because I felt like this season we had some really important discussion topics. So for example, domestic violence, obviously, and just how that definition was expanded in our discussion. I think sometimes we tend to think of domestic violence as, male on female violence that occurs in the home only, and only physical in nature. But I think that through that discussion, we really sort of elevated that definition. But really, for me, my ultimate favorite was policing sex in the Sunflower State, because that was so hard to take a look at this oppression of women that we're still seeing happening right now. And I think that it was important to talk about it, and it was important to recognize the injustice that happened then, but it was also important to keep those conversations about the history of the treatment of women alive, so that we understand what's happening with the treatment of women in modern times.
And that took us clear back to World War I.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we encourage everybody, if some of these are unfamiliar with, go to ktwu.org and look them up, because you're going to learn a lot. Again, Amy?
See, I'm going to go a little bit different direction, probably because it's, it's personal, right? You're talking about yourselves by having personal. It's the end of life care. That conversation was so somber and so gentle and so reassuring. I remember thinking at the time, we had Tiffany Brubaker here as a guest, and thinking, oh, when that comes the time, I would want her around. And at the end, you all went, I wish Tiffany's here when it, because that's
She has a gift.
She has a gift.
She has a gift.
There comes a point in time where the hospital no longer has that fix-it button, or are the risks worth the benefits? And there's going to be a point in time where it's not. And that's when families come to hospice and say, let's focus on comfort. There's no cure. Or I don't want the cure, or the cure is going to cause more hurt and pain and suffering, and I don't want that for my future.
I've lost my dad in the past couple of months. One of my dearest friends lost his mom. Just recently, I went to another funeral of a death of a parent. And so it's very real for me, and having that that, you know, this is going to happen. This is going to, and just that, it's not a horrible thing. We're there for the family and all of that. I was just moved. I was just, I've moved, and I have such respect for them. Not something I could do, but boy, I'm glad there's people out there who can.
Right. I remember us talking. We several of us said we hope that she's at our bedside and holding our hand
Not
and
for a
speaking
while.
with us.
I like her, but let's just go to lunch. And then,
Several decades. I think for me, I mean, I'm going to kind of go back to policing sex, but also the Women's Army, because what that said to me is we are still marching, women. And women are the ones who are always marching. We always pick up the baton and say, this isn't right, this is what I'm going to do about it. And that leads me to say, I mean, look at the abortion issue, just Roe versus Wade the other day. Look at that situation with the pink hats several years ago where all the women got out and were protesting. That's who we are as women. And that was inspiring to me, that as far back as the right to vote for women, the right to, have fair pay, all of these things that we're still fighting for today. And it circles back to like the 1920s, and it's still going on, and women are always at the forefront. And that's inspiring to me. So, it's wrong to imprison women for sex. It's wrong to imprison women around abortion. It's wrong to not give women the right to vote. When are men going to stand up for women?
so here's what I was going to say, because I think that you're right. Women always show up for this. And when you look in particular at things like the civil rights movements for gay and lesbian couples or people that affiliate or are a part of that community, women were right there with people marching for their rights as well. So it's time for people to stand up for women now, because we are always the ones standing up for doing good.
Right. And doing the right thing, frankly, in my opinion.
I agree. Well, and mine kind of dovetails into that because it's women in politics. How lucky were we to have Vicki Schmidt with us and Mayor Wagner, former Mayor Wagner. Just to think about the fact that they have gone through this and actually got involved because things weren't getting done the way they wanted them to be done. I mean, you have laid such wonderful groundwork for women.
Yes. Well, we also made, I think, a whole lot of difference on issues that we care about. I mean, you've done wonderful things with health, and in your role now with overseeing the insurance industry, I can't think of a better time to have someone that really understands family issues. I got involved because of domestic violence. I was the director at the YWCA, did that for years, and went over and testified before the all-male white Senate Judiciary Committee.
Wow.
And they ate me alive. And I thought, never again. So I learned how to do it and got involved on a lot of women's issues, but a lot of other things as well.
So instead of just sitting back and hoping that somebody else was going to do it, they took it upon themselves to get involved, be active, go door to door, and ultimately win a seat. And then, to continue on. They haven't just given up. They continue on because they realize that there are things that we still need to accomplish.
But Joan Wagner still indicated that at this point, I'm willing to pass the baton.
Right.
I'm seeing what's going on, and I've done my part.
Tired,
and I christen you. It is pick up the baton and run, my friend, run.
What an act of bravery for women to run for office, because female candidates are grossly scrutinized in comparison to their male counterparts. In terms of talking about what clothes they're wearing, or if they were too emotional, or if they
or their voice. Remember they said about Hillary, "Oh, I can't stand her voice." Like, what the heck? What does that mean? I mean, really.
Yeah. So it is. I think it is truly brave to put your name on the ballot like that, because in this day and age, you're not just putting your name on the ballot, you're putting your family's name on the ballot too,
That's true.
and that's a huge sacrifice.
Right. Well, and you have to be so cautious now, because if you are against what somebody else is for, they could come after your family. They know where you live. They know.
Yep.
They know.
And I know we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. But it's time to talk about our season 2 guests. And it was pretty much impossible for me to narrow down my favorite. But Betty Lou, do you have a favorite?
I loved them all. We are so fortunate to have wonderful guests. I do want to highlight Lacey, though. Lacey is a special needs person who had gone through Capper Foundation and now works there. And I just love listening to her talk about how important it was for her to feel and how far we've come, because we were talking in the first segment about how far we've come but how far we need to go. And I remember her talking about being bullied because she had special needs, not just by the students but by the teachers. So I thought that was amazing. And then let's fast forward to the older lady, and she has more energy than I do, but she was the photographer who did the hood ornaments, and she was over at the car museum over in Manhattan, Ann Palmer, and she was just divine. And I still want her to make a coffee table book of those ornaments.
That would be amazing.
Hood ornaments, yeah. How about you?
Okay, why are you gonna take mine? Oh, I was getting ready to talk about Ann because she was so amazing, and I really am not into cars, but she made me feel like I wanted to know more about cars.
Yeah.
And to go to Manhattan to actually see the cars up close and some of the pieces, like the pieces on the hood.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we're talking about works of art.
Yes.
So yes, shout out to Ann, because I mean,
we love
she
Ann.
took a topic that I was like, oh, this is going to be a very long show. But I mean, I was really impressed that I got as engaged in it as I did. So thank you, Ann.
Amazing. I have to give some love, some Washburn love, to Dr. Sharon Sullivan and Dr. Jericho Hockett.
Back the bus.
Yeah, they were on our Beauty Standards show, and so they were talking about these really unreasonable expectations of how women should physically present themselves. And Dr. Hockett, who is a psychology professor, talked about the psychological ramifications of these expectations. And I think that it's so good that we're having these conversations. We should have had them hundreds of years ago and talk about how it impacts women to have to adhere to these completely unachievable standards. And that really was such a healthy conversation, and to get that out on the table and to just tell people, look, you have to find a different way to estimate the value of a woman.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. I have to, there's a couple I need to mention real quick. You can't not mention Kelly Ripple, who was here on the cannabis. And he was and he was here many times. I mean, he's kept, bring him back, bring him back. And I love the energy of Nancy Vogelsberg Bush from the Bossy's Best Organic Beef. She was just like, she loved it. It was just fun. She was just joy.
Oh my gosh.
It was really, really fun.
And watching her drive that tractor and give the, get the hay to all the cattle. And I mean, that woman knows what she's doing. She's in and out, and
I say field trip to go buy some of that Bossy's beef.
But if I had to give one, I want to give my love to Linda Hargrove.
Yes.
Linda Hargrove was a basketball coach at the early times when she was trying to get programs started. She ended up being the general manager of the Washington Mystics, which is the women's NBA team. And then she was also the coach of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics basketball team. I mean, pretty impressive. And then against that, we had Kaylee Manns, who is currently a professional volleyball player. And listening to a woman who was trying to start sports, and Kaylee saying, I can't imagine not having sports.
That's so funny.
What would you have? What would I have done? It was the juxtaposition was fabulous.
Yes, I thought I wrote that exact same thing down because we were watching because she said, I don't know what I would have done. And I think that is true for so many young women. They've never had to encounter a world without sports that they were included in.
50th anniversary of Title IX.
Yes,
That's right.
Huge.
It is. It's huge.
So I have to go back to our discussion about special needs. So Lacey and her mom, Penny Kinder, I was asking the question, so, we do all of this to help young people with special needs or anyone with special needs, but then what happens? And then there was Lacey, who has been, taken through since basically first or second grade up until the time that she is working at the Kappa Foundation. I found that totally inspirational because not only has she overcome and succeeded with those disabilities, but she is successful. So I found that fabulous. And then my other one is really Megan Stoop, who was talking to us about standing up to violence. And what I loved about what she had to say was the fact that she really was a realist. Like, she would tell people, this is not, you're not going to get over this right away. This doesn't take 6 months. This doesn't take a year. It takes time to get through this. And they work with people for 3 years. They don't just, pick them up and give them a little bit of advice and let them go. They stay with them through the process.
However long that individual took.
Exactly.
Not any norm.
Right. Exactly. So I thought that was very inspirational to know that they were going to stay with you through that, because that's difficult. And that there are men that come to that program as well, not just women. Not just women.
To touch a little bit more on Lacey and her mom, I really was so struck by their willingness to be vulnerable in their discussion, because it has to be difficult to go on TV and talk about these deeply personal experiences that were not great all the time. Upon hearing this information, what was your reaction to that?
Oh, well, I remember being devastated. And you've got to give yourself that moment to be disappointed. But then, you become that mama bear, and, you expect that, you're going to do whatever it takes that will help your child succeed.
And there was just so much candidness about, this was hard. And when we found out that this was how our life was going to play out, we had to deal with that too. And I really appreciated just how open they were with their experiences.
And think how much they've helped people since then, because they've been there and they can be on their same terms. So.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to some lighthearted moments, and we all know we've had a couple of those. So Leslie, what is this about you and 85 miles an hour?
And I'm still salty about it to this day. Go ahead.
That was during our Women on Wheels discussion, and Ms. Palmer asked me about, she asked us all, well, what was the only icon for cars or symbols of cars that hasn't changed?
Yes.
And I got it right. I said Mercedes. And then we started talking about other cars, and I was saying one of the things that I love about Kansas, unlike New York where I'm from, I can go down the highway 85 miles an hour or more and not get caught. And I love that. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
This episode is Women on Hot Wheels.
Well, so yes, that is true. That was my favorite blooper.
And no ticket.
Yes. And no ticket. And I always, my thing is be kind to the officers, agree with them that you are in fact speeding, you did speed, and then, they go a lot later on.
I did that and they still gave me a ticket.
Babe, it's all in the presentation.
I gave presentation. That's all I'm saying.
Well, one of my fun things that just happened, because we were all going to go out and help Crooked Post Winery. We were going to do the crush and pick the grapes and so forth. So we all get out there real early in the morning, but at the time, Miss Danielle was not getting up at 2:30 in the morning to be on KMAJ. So she showed up when we're all finished.
I think that was beautiful timing, personally. Thank you. Because I got there in time to load the grapes in like we all did, and then we got to sip some wine.
Yeah, you got the photo op.
I did, but I thought we were going one time through, and it's like, no, we're taking another basket. I'm like, we already took a basket. Why are we taking another basket? I was like, no, we're going to take another basket. So, oh, my Lord. But that was a fun day.
That was a fun day.
My particularly fun episode was the candy corn episode.
Wow.
We ate some nastiness that I don't even ever want to eat again. Because there was green beans, there was Thanksgiving in a candy corn.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all just wrong. It was just all wrong. And to get us on, you doing it in real time.
That tastes like turkey.
That's the kicker in real time. So
It's gonna be your face.
it was, and I don't have a poker face, so I was like, hey.
Were
it's
any
a
of them
nasty-
good? Were any of them yummy?
There was one. What was the one?
I think it's the
was
pie.
cranberry.
The apple pie.
Or apple pie.
was pretty good.
The pie was pretty good.
Yeah.
I would have liked that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, but there was one that tasted like soap suds. So I was like, I'm good on that. Oh,
You know what soap suds taste like?
maybe my mouth got washed.
Her mouth got washed. That was.
While we tried to go back in my past.
This is just season 2 recap, not Danielle Norwood's life recap.
Exactly. We ain't trying to go all the way back there. Thank you.
That would never happen to you anyway. Why would they ever?
I
wash
don't
your
know.
mouth out?
I don't
You're
know.
a good Pentecostal.
Thank you. And Granny was making sure that I stayed that way.
That's what I'm saying.
Amen. Speaking of going back, hello, 50th. My 50th birthday.
That was a good one.
To actually have an episode where I turned 50 and we're talking freedom after 50.
Yeah, on
we
the
could,
day.
On that day. We could not have planned that any better if we tried. And you all got me flowers and the cake and just the whole idea of feeling sexy after 50. It's like, shoot, looking good. I'm about to bring this. That's all I'm saying. So I was ready for it. It was awesome.
Do you think you feel like sexier and better about yourself at 50 than you did at like 20?
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. The confidence, you know, in everything that I'm bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And the feeling of stuff that's I don't care.
Exactly.
About. I don't care. I don't have all the answers. I don't need all the answers, and I don't care.
And we're so valuable, you know, because we've gone through so many things, so many bumps and scrapes, but that's a part of our tapestry. It makes us who we are. So I can't wait to, you know, get through the 50 and get on to the 60 because I know I'll be even sassier than I am right now. So it's just, I know, y'all just hold on for that. Maybe we'll have a season 12 by that time. Yay. Could be very interesting. Well, can you believe that we're already on our last topic, the favorite show category? But here's the catch. We each have 1 minute to talk about our favorite show. So good luck with that. And Amy, we're going to start with you.
Lord, yeah, I'm a Libra. Yeah, all of the above. If I really had to pick one, I think I would go with the self-care because I struggle with that. That was something that was kind of I could relate to because women tend to put themselves on the back burner. You're caring for kids, you're caring for family, you're caring for aging parents, you're caring for your career, you're caring blah, 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 you're caring for, you're marching, you're busy marching, and you know, and when do you take time to stop and say, it's okay for me to spend time on me, to do my 90-minute massage or whatever is needed to make me be okay so I'm still strong to take care of all the things that I want to take care of, so I can do that. And I've struggled with that because, you know, I tend to be type A. Yeah. And so I like to be productive, I like to get things done. But sometimes you have to stop and say, no, it's okay. That's right. Woosah. Yeah, woosah. To take care. And I really, really appreciated that. And it gets me ideas for ideas for next season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to tag onto that because this is a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. Amy actually has a notebook that she keeps every single thing by, and it is perfectly done. And I asked her, I said, were you an A student in classes? And she says, yes, she was. And it's no wonder. She's got everything perfectly organized. I bow to you, my friend.
Thank
I bow to you.
Thank you.
That's right.
Totally organized.
Yeah, there's my type A. Yep, there you go. Okay.
And I didn't know that at the beginning. So
wow.
I totally learned, totally have learned. So I guess my favorite was Freedom After 50. And of course it was fun because it was Danielle's birthday, but because I wasn't on that show, I watched it and I thought, wow, that was like the Today Show. Like that was such an impressive show. You had the doctor with her white coat, and then you had the other doctors, and it was on screen. And you know, I felt like you guys were, you know, Katie Couric and you know, and the team, and you know, and then the guests were so buttoned up and together and saying all the right things that were natural, that were real. That, you know, as I was watching at home the other day, I thought, ooh. Girls, you all knocked that out of the park, you know? So I really love that show, and I thought absolutely was inspiring because it really gave some great insights, some great information for our guests. So that was my favorite show.
I'm going to go back to Women in Politics because I love Joan Wagner and Vicki Schmidt, and they were doing it before it was popular, kind of like Barbara Mandrell, Country Before Country Was Cool.
Yeah.
But it was just like, you know, for them to actually take that on and to have evolved and learned so much and taken so much grief. And I never have had the guts to do anything like that. I dated a politician who told me that you can't do anything, you cannot have done anything bad or questionable since the 3rd grade.
Oh my goodness.
Basically. I mean, you know, that's kind of the norm because somebody's going to find it, somebody's going to pick you apart for it. And I'm thinking, do you really want that hassle? Yeah, you want to do good and be good and try to make things better for people, but at what personal sacrifice? And like you were talking earlier, your family sacrifice as well.
Right.
So I think that takes a special type of giving individual. You know, people like in the service as well. That's a giving individual, and those are giving families.
And I think that's ridiculous because I want someone with battle scars. I
Right.
want somebody.
Yeah.
I want somebody who's been through it and learned and knows what it's like, and I can relate and I can empathize. That's who I want. So
Right.
it's
Right.
it's silly that
Right.
we are expecting these.
But what
perfection.
percent of population is like that?
Yeah, no.
No,
Right.
zero.
No.
Not a lot.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but you can rise above it and make something good happen.
Well, I'm going to give you 45 seconds since y'all took most of my time. Anyhow, what I will say is body image, because it's something that we all struggle with. No matter how perfect your body is, there's always something that you feel is wrong. You know, whether you've got, you know, cellulite on the back of your leg or you got a scar. And we all just need to know that we are valuable and we are lovable. And we should accept ourselves first.
Right.
And, you know, other people will accept or they won't accept, but it doesn't matter because you got to love yourself.
Yes.
So that was the thing that I really picked up on was like, you know, no matter what society's saying,
Right.
do you and enjoy you. So
And those who love you are going to love you.
exactly.
That's who matters.
For what you are and who you are. So that's
And I think it's
where I
a
am.
constant struggle to relearn how we look at ourselves. I remember when this show, the first episode of this show, I found myself watching my body and saying, oh, that looks awful. And I've gained so much weight during COVID. And I thought, what am I doing? I am saying these things that need to be heard with these brilliant women, and I'm just looking at my physical appearance. So I think that episode was profound. For me, Standing Up to Violence is the episode that I'm most proud of, because if we're going to have a show about women, what are we doing if we're not talking about issues and trying to give women real resources to deal with these intense issues? And we're talking about, you know, this happens to men, of course, but it disproportionately impacts women, including trans women in this country. And if we cannot be a venue to offer help and resources to people in these situations, what are we doing here?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, as always, time flew by. Yep. But it's been an absolute pleasure working with my fellow Inspire hosts, my friends, my sisters, my buds. We have a great time, and we thank all of you for being with us on this journey. We'll see you next season.
Inspiring women, inspiring you, and inspiring kindness, respect, and equality for women. Right here on KTWU. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back here for season 3.
Inspire is sponsored by Kansas Furniture Mart, using furniture to inspire conversation. And by the Blanche Bryden Foundation.